Alright, we saw Thunderbolts. Well, I did. Ziggy wasn't able to go. But let's get into it. I'll have the non-spoiler portion of the review first, and then we'll get into spoilers at the end. I don't have a ton to say. I'm not one of those reviewers that's going to go over every little detail, but I wanted to give my opinion on what I thought was a pretty awesome movie. Let's get to it. My history with the recent MCU. I saw Endgame, thought it was pretty awesome. It was probably most awesome the first time you see it, and then after that it just becomes a nostalgic greatest hits type of every moment needs to be, well, this is the most important moment, or this is just, oh, this is the last time we're doing this, and it gets a little heavy. After that, I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, I believe that's what it was called. That was pretty awesome, but again, it was kind of messy. It pulled it all to nostalgia. It was great because it was a movie you got to see in the theater again after COVID, so it had a real, excitement to it after that, or because of that. After that, as far as movies in the theater, I saw the Doctor Strange sequel, which was what turned me off to Marvel movies and stuff in general at that point. The movie was a mess. It didn't even seem like a Doctor Strange movie. It felt like a Scarlet Witch movie, which is fine, but that's not how they advertised it, right, bud? You agree. I enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier, even though it got a little heavy-handed with the message necessarily, but I really enjoyed Bucky and I really enjoyed John Walker from that, so I was excited to see that they were both in this movie coming up. So that's where I am. I didn't watch, basically, I think I saw one episode of Hawkman, one episode of She-Hulk, and I've avoided the rest. I didn't see Loki, I haven't seen much else. So, I went into this with a pretty open mind. I avoided the last Hulk movie, or excuse me, Captain America, whatever it's called. So this movie, as soon as I saw U.S. Agent and Bucky together, I said, okay, this is exciting. Red Guardian, even though I didn't see the Black Widow movie, I could tell that was a character I would like. I always liked the different versions from around the world that they tried to make of Captain America, like Captain Britain. So Red Guardian seemed fun. David Harbour's great, obviously known for Stranger Things, but he's been great in a lot of stuff, so that was really cool to see him in a big role. I was not familiar with Yelena at all. Yelena is Scarlett Johansson, or Black Widow's sister in the MCU. In the comics, she's just a fellow agent that ends up working with Black Widow, and she becomes the second Black Widow. Spoiler alert, but not really. Yelena is the backbone of this movie. It's her movie. Even though it says Thunderbolts, it's really a Yelena movie, which is both good and bad, and we'll get into that later. As far as the rest of the team, you have the Ghost, which, unfortunately, they barely explain anything about this person at all. I don't know if I missed a TV series or another movie that was supposed to explain who Ghost was and why they were important. They seemed great, but they gave them very limited screen time compared to the rest, which I'll get into in a minute. And then you have, I believe that rounds out the regular team itself. Bucky, of course, which is great. I believe I already mentioned him. So the movie itself, I think it starts off right from Yelena's perspective, and it carries you through the whole movie as basically she is the moral compass. She's the person going through the most strife and most issues, even though it seems that the character of Bob has quite a few of their own. The thing I liked about Yelena, I took some notes during the movie. I've never done that before. It's pretty cool. The thing about Yelena that makes her stand out from Black Widow, which is awesome because I didn't know who Yelena was going into this, and you'll hear her name 1,000 times during this movie. Everyone screams it multiple times. The thing that made her stand out from Black Widow is whereas Black Widow was more about the long, flashy red hair, I'll be honest, the cleavage, and when she would take out groups of men, she would barely punch them and each one would fall down, and then she would go to the next room and hack into a computer, and then she would go into the next room and do something else. She was the Swiss Army knife, and they had her do everything to the point where it was comical that someone without powers was that powerful. So what they do with Yelena, right from the get-go, they show her as a believable hero, someone that is not impenetrable, but someone that when they fight, it looks realistic, it feels like they're actually fighting, and she actually has a good story as far as where she goes in this movie. So I loved that character. I believe it's, I think it's Florence Pugh or Pug. I have no idea how to say her name, I'm sorry. She does a great job, she's a great actress. If my only complaint about this movie is that it is named Thunderbolts, but it really feels like a Yelena movie. And I know they couldn't have advertised it as Black Widow 2 or something like that, but it really feels like Black Widow Part 2. Each character in to lesser extent, to some to more extent, some to lesser extents, take backseat to her in this story. She gets a lot of fleshing out, which is great. I didn't see Black Widow, so I can't judge if she needs to have more or less. But at her expense, or at that expense, characters like Ghost, we don't really get a lot of. Bucky, even though we know who he is, that's fine. I can say we've had a lot of movies with Bucky. We don't need more with him. But John Walker, they give some very paint by numbers, quick, quick strokes of what's going on in his personal life. But they never really give any resolution to it. It just is kind of there, floating around in the background. And it just, those are my main complaints with the movie. Otherwise, it has phenomenal action scenes. It has some of the better action scenes we've seen in a while. It doesn't have that style where it's just crazy mishmash of quick cuts and you can't tell what's going on. This had some great set designs and set design pieces with those battles. So that was exciting. After that, I don't know if I have much else to say that is not in the non-spoiler portion. So if you don't want the movie spoiled, let's cut off the video here for y'all. And I will reel up again in a second. Okay. So, like I said, it's not great that Yelena is the only person that really gets depth, but who also gets depth is the Sentry, Bob. Bob is a phenomenal character. It's played really well. I don't believe I've ever seen this actor before. At the beginning of the story, you think maybe he's just going to be their ally and help them out. I'm not familiar with Bob from the comics or Sentry from the comics. When Julia Louis-Dreyfus gets Sentry on her side and kind of manipulates him and makes him even more evil, brings out his evil side. It's great. It's well done. They take their time showing who this Bob character is and why he's motivated to do the things he's doing. So outside of Yelena, Bob gets the most story in this movie, and it's for the better because it's a pretty awesome story. Yelena, her story is more, she lost her sister, but you can't tell if she's bothered by that or she's looking for love. You can't. She's mad at her dad for not talking to her for a year, but she could have talked to him. So I don't understand exactly her entire problem, which is the problem when they're the backbone of the movie. You really need to understand what's going on with them. So we knew something was troubling Yelena. We just didn't know what or why, or they at least didn't want to tell us what or why. After that, the battle scenes were awesome. The ending was pretty good. I enjoyed how they all figured out how to jump into the Sentry's ghost world and talk to him, reason with him, show that they were friends, all that type of stuff. One of the better movies I've seen in a while. So I enjoyed it. I'm excited to see where they go from here. Definitely stick around for the post-credits sequence. They tease that this is actually the new Avengers, and they're not the Thunderbolts. They're the new Avengers, and some other group of Avengers, perhaps Sam Wilson. Well, not perhaps. They flat out say Sam Wilson is trying to trademark the name Avengers or create his own group, and there's going to be factions. So that's interesting. We'll see what that leads to. But all in all, and last but not least, why did New York City have to take it again? I got to see my favorite train station, Grand Central, which I've traveled through hundreds of times in my life, well, the station I don't think got destroyed, but the area around it, good lord, got crushed. So, all right. Join us next time for the next review. I believe the next movie I'm really excited about seeing was probably Superman. So 2 months from now, follow up and we'll see. It's Alex and Ziggy. Talk to you next time.